Okay, I'm going to show how to install a trailer hitch in your W163 Mercedes ML class. This particular one is my 2005 ML 350, and I purchased a trailer hitch kit and a trailer wiring kit, both off Amazon. Trailer hitch kit is from Draw-Tite, and the exact model number is that one there. It's actually the one beginning with 7 there in the top right. And then for the wiring kit is a Tekonsha 119191. And this includes everything you need to install a trailer hitch and wire it. Last night I actually already installed the trailer hitch, and the instructions are alright, but they could be a little bit more descriptive. But in essence, there's 3 main components. You have your main hitch receiver part there in the center, and then I'll show you in a moment, there's 2 reinforcement plates, each on the corner of the rear of the ladder frame. This is pretty self-explanatory. You got 4 huge bolts, a lock washer, and a flat washer bolting this into the existing 4 holes that are threaded on the truck. And then the trickier part is getting these reinforcement plates on, partly because this is just not well described or pictured. Let's see if I can show it. But you got bolts coming through the rear bumper part there, and then you got bigger ones going through the frame, and then those parts sticking out are like these little flat nuts. And they got, I presume, the long stems or ears, whatever you want to call them, to help fish them in through the plate into the frame. And then on the other sides of those holes where the bolts are coming through, you have a washer and I'm sorry, no washer. The little square part of the nuts. You'll know when you see the kit what I'm talking about. But all I can say is it's kind of a pain in the ass, but you stick those through, bend it over to the side. That kind of places the nut where those 2 bolts come through, and that's how these are secured to the frame for reinforcement. And it goes without saying, take your rear bumper off. To do this, there's a myriad of videos showing that, so I won't. And then I took off both headlights to gain access to wiring, although in retrospect I probably did not need to take off the passenger side. The reason being is, instead of splicing into the actual harness at the tail light, you can actually splice into the existing plug that's used for the factory trailer wiring kit. And that's what I'll be doing next. That big red wire there is the one going directly to the battery, and that's what you're going to use for the constant power on your trailer wiring kit. Now, as far as I know, these trucks all came with this, but of course the actual trailer wiring part was probably like a dealer add-on. But if you go up to the front at the fuse box, you'll see on the cover, there's the diagram. F18 is the one that has a 25 amp fuse for that power wire at the rear harness there. So odds are you won't have a fuse there already, and you'll need to put one in. And it's gonna be this one right here. It's essentially right after where you might have a relay there, but it's this one. Again, just refer to the diagram to be sure. And then what you can do to validate you get power there is just use a multimeter and probe the terminal for that big red wire. And yeah, you can see I have this terminal on that plug where that big red wire goes in, probed, and then I just have it grounded there to the rear bumper, and sure enough, there's our constant power. Now, it probably would be wise to take out that fuse and disconnect power while you're actually wiring this up to prevent any accidental short circuits until you get everything properly connected and sealed up. I've already taken them off. There's two ventilation covers covering these two ports, which can seal that that plug that's tucked up in there. I'll show you, for example, on the other side. Yeah, so, and odds are they'll kind of bust apart as you take them off, but from what I've seen, you can kind of finagle them back apart. But this compartment essentially allows you to mount up the actual controller, Tekonsha controller, in a nice, mostly watertight area using the wiring inside. And then, let's see if I can turn on my light there. There's actually a grommet. You can see it there. I just pulled up the insulation, and that goes outside. And so if you reach up under, you can pop that out, and boom, now you got access to run your plug. Now, this is not big enough to fit that plug through. So what I'm going to do is cut this open and make it so it will fit. I just used a utility knife to waller out that part of the grommet. Not the prettiest thing, but good enough to run a trailer harness through. And we could probably put some goop or something to seal that up after I'm done. Not too worried. I live in a desert climate, and this is kind of a beater truck. So anyway, gonna slap this back in, then stuff the module in there and run the 4-pin harness to the outside. Okay, so Mercedes was really nice here. You have one thick red wire, that's your positive power directly to the battery, and then you have two thick brown wires, those are both grounds, and then you have 6 remaining smaller wires, and so those are going to be the 3 wires each for each of the rear combination lamps. So what that means is, when you're working with the Tekonsha kit, you refer to the application instructions for a 3-wire style system where brake, stop, turn signal for one light uses 3 wires. So hopefully that helps. So this way, this should make the wiring easy, because then you're just vampiring into each of the respective wires, and only one of the 2 ground wires you really need to use. Alright, now with daylight and all the connections completed successfully, I'll give you some better references here. So the yellow lead from the controller for the trailer, for the left turn signal, that goes to the green wire that goes into the plug already on the vehicle. So green from the vehicle, yellow to the trailer wiring for the left driver's side turn signal. So for the right turn signal, the input wire from the vehicle is the thin red wire going to the back of your plug, and that's going to the green wire for the trailer controller. Don't confuse that little thin red wire from the vehicle plug with the thick red wire which you're using for, power. The orange wire on the vehicle plug, that's your brake stop lamps, i.e. the lamps that come on brighter when you hit the brakes. That's going to the red wire from the trailer lights controller. So again, orange wire from the plug, red wire to the trailer lights controller. And then finally we have this bluish colored wire going into the plug on the vehicle, and that's going to the brown wire on the controller, and that covers just the tail light. So when you turn on your lights and you just have that slightly dim red tail light, that's the function it carries out. Here we are at nighttime again, This is how things look mounted up. One thing they do mention in the install guide for the hitch is to trim that lower part of the bumper that comes near into contact with the receiver. I just used a simple oscillating saw like you'd use for plunge cuts, and just took a nice little rectangular section out of that piece of the fascia, and everything fits hunky-dory. But yeah, that's how you add the Draw-Tite hitch and Tekonsha wiring kit to your Mercedes ML series. And the reason I chose this over the Kurt hitch is that it's rated for 5,000 pounds instead of 3,500, and I'm guessing that comes from each reinforcement plate on the frame members, adding some additional support. So anyway, hope this helps.